At a time when most children are still learning long division, Princess Charlotte was given a significant public position, and the announcement was made in a fashion that suggests King Charles and Queen Camilla had no clue it would happen. That's the narrative. And to be honest, what makes it intriguing isn't the news per se, but rather what it says about who is now in charge. To ensure you don't miss the next update, please be sure to subscribe and join us at Crown Watch before we get started. Let's return to this moment at Kensington Palace, since the scene alone conveys a message. This was neither a state banquet nor a broadcast speech from Buckingham Palace with all the formalities. This was a charity event, a garden event, the type of affair that receives kind coverage and a few lovely pictures. When reporters arrived, they expected to see Princess Charlotte grinning as normal, Prince George looking a little awkward in a jacket, Princess Catherine looking immaculate, and Prince William saying something kind about the charity. That's all. Everyone believed they were receiving that. Rather, on a summer afternoon, with the breeze blowing and palace officials reportedly learning about it in real time along with everyone else, William stands up and gives what amounts to a reorganization of the royal family's public persona. He discusses planning for the future and respecting Queen Elizabeth's heritage before announcing that Princess Charlotte will start her formal responsibilities as a crown representative, not later, not tomorrow, but right now. And there are audible gasps from the audience. No one was ready for this, so journalists are rushing to get their phones up. The palace employees appeared startled. The timetable did not include this. There was no prior briefing on this. The problem with royal pronouncements is that they typically have a pattern. Even if they are at each other's throats behind closed doors, there is a press statement, cooperation with the king's office, and a sense that the family is moving as a single unit. The performance is that there is cohesiveness throughout the performance. Therefore, it is not an error when major news is made without King Charles and Queen Camilla being present, making a remark, or even being mentioned in a speech. It's a message. And an even louder silence followed no unified statement, no encouraging remarks from Clarence House, nothing. The king and queen should have been there, yet there was nothing. And the whole tale lies in that emptiness. The context that precedes this makes it much more stunning. There have been rumors for months about William secretly meeting with high-ranking Commonwealth officials, Catherine accepting advisory positions typically held by more senior royals, and Princess Charlotte being prepared for media training at a young age that shocked even palace insiders. These rumors weren't very loud. They were the type that would be turned down if someone asked outright, yet they kept coming up and pointing in the same direction. Something was being planned by someone. Camilla was the one who seemed to be keeping the closest eye on everything, and she had every right to be worried. Because of this dynamic, the entire scenario is extremely stressful. Camilla worked to improve her public image for years, perhaps decades. From being the most contentious person in Charles's life and the other ladies, she became queen consort. That required planning, patience, and a great deal of well-managed public relations. When she arrived, she persevered through the public cynicism, the scrutiny, and the parallels to Diana. And the earth begins to shift beneath them as soon as Elizabeth achieves the position she battled for, and Charles receives the crown he has been waiting for his entire life. Crowds that overshadow the king's festivities are being drawn by William and Catherine. According to surveys, they are the family's most trusted members. Their appearances draw notice from all across the world. And Charles seemed to be retreating, even though he ought to be relishing his rule after all those years as heir. As his formal responsibilities diminished, palace sources said he became unhinged. He canceled appointments, saying he was tired. At first, his advisors wrote it off as a normal sabbatical following a challenging first year. However, many closest to the incident believed something more was happening. Charles felt irritated. He was overshadowed. Charles, with his more aloof demeanor and the ongoing controversy surrounding Camilla, was unable to match the warm response William and Catherine received everywhere they traveled. A prince and princess of Wales are proceeding with what appears to be a very well-thought-out strategy, while a king is failing and a queen is witnessing her hard-earned position being neglected. There must have been incredible tensions behind closed doors. Charles reportedly disagreed with key advisors on how to deal with William's growing prominence. According to some accounts, Queen Elizabeth asked Charles to get ready for a seamless transfer to William during her last months because she could see where things were going and wanted the changeover handled well. However, Camilla was against any change that would remove her and Charles from the center, and from her point of view, you can see why. She didn't endure all of this, only to be forgotten when her stepson and his spouse took control of the organization. The problem with institutional authority is as follows. It doesn't give a damn about how others feel. Public support, relevance, and the capacity to engage people in a way that makes them believe the institution is worth preserving are all necessary for the monarchy to endure. Additionally, William and Catherine are now delivering it in a manner that Charles and Camilla just aren't. The public's preferences are evident. The media has done the same. Kensington Palace is being contacted by foreign embassies. Employees who were formerly devoted to Charles and Camilla are now focusing on the Waleses rather than Clarence House. In an attempt to re-establish some semblance of the previous order, Camilla convened an urgent conference with royal advisors. In essence, Charles said, "Let it unfold. It has already started." That isn't a ruler claiming dominance. That is a ruler who is aware that the choice has already been made. Returning to the Kensington Palace grounds, William's speech covered more ground than merely Charlotte. It was a statement of purpose. The crown, he said, is not a relic. It is an actual pledge of service, and the future has that potential. Rather than giving up on tradition, he discussed its evolution. Then he presented his kid, telling her that she would start going to events with her mother, learning service, and contributing to the creation of a new vision. Royal offspring have not historically been brought into the public eye in this manner. Slower advancement, cautious testing of the waters, and respect for the hierarchy that prioritizes the direct successor and assigns everyone else to supporting duties are typical. However, William elevated Charlotte in this way, implying that she would be more than a supporting character. She is being trained for actual responsibility, potentially competing with George in terms of influence and public visibility. The pictures went viral right away. With a humble grin that strangely brought to mind both Diana and Queen Elizabeth, Charlotte stood next to her father, calm beyond her years. Social media went crazy, and the message was quite obvious. The future belongs to this family, and whether the current king and queen like it or not, the future is beginning right now. With all the attention on William and Charlotte, it's simple to overlook Catherine's part in this. Calm and serene, she stood next to William during the announcement, her hand resting on George's back in a subtly comforting gesture that signaled solidarity. However, the article indicates that she has been everything from passive behind the scenes. It seems that Catherine has spent years researching royal dynamics, and what we're currently witnessing appears to be the outcome of a meticulously thought-out plan. Months before the announcement, she allegedly commissioned public surveys to determine support for Charlotte assuming a more prominent position. Strong approval was evident in the results. Every night, she and William assessed the public's response and the media's coverage, modifying their strategy. Catherine opted for quiet, while Camilla tried to exert authority. She remained silent when questioned about the tensions. However, that quiet is a sign of discipline rather than weakness. Catherine's fame is genuine. It is based on years of sincere experiences, the hospital stays, her interactions with kids, and her clear affection for her own children. People react to that because it seems authentic, and she has a power that titles cannot give her because of her sincerity. She is more than just Charlotte's mother and George's spouse. She now serves as the operation's strategic focal point, the individual who recognizes that the monarchy cannot endure by holding on to the past. It must change. Additionally, she is ensuring that it develops in a way that protects the future of her kids. The irony of it all is that Camilla's position was meant to be the result of a challenging and protracted journey. She put up with the accusations of an affair, the divorce, the public outrage following Diana's passing, and the years of meticulous image restoration. She was appointed queen consort. She succeeded. However, uncontrollable forces are now shaping the crown she assisted Charles in obtaining. And a woman who never had to struggle for public adoration in the first place is gaining the power she battled for. Catherine simply has it, and that must hurt. For his part, Charles appears to be torn between obligation and reality. He spent his whole life hoping to become king. The position is being reinvented around him now that he is. According to reports, his health is a worry. He has overlooked important occasions. His public appearances have decreased. William has moved confidently and clearly into the void. When William chose to visit a children's cancer ward in Manchester rather than attend a crucial meeting Charles was hosting, the media attention William's visit received was much more than that of the king's event. Whether that was deliberate or not, it conveyed a message about priorities and the current location of the monarchy's energies. The generational divide is real as well as symbolic. The populace is reacting to the work already being done by those who will continue the monarchy. That includes George's subdued presence as well as Charlotte's rise. He stood close by, soaking in the announcement. He didn't appear uneasy or envious. He appeared to be aware of his job and confident enough in it to share the limelight with his sister. That's not a coincidence. Parenting is that. That's how Catherine and William are purposefully teaching their kids to view the monarchy as a shared duty rather than a rivalry. The early phases of a reign that hasn't yet formally started are what we are witnessing. The title is still held by Charles. Camilla continues to wear the crown. However, the institution's direction, impetus, and public interest have all moved to Kensington Palace. The old guard is still in place, but their power has been subtly and methodically diminished. Furthermore, Charlotte's statement involved more than just a little child beginning her first official responsibilities. It had to do with establishing a new royal hierarchy, one that looks ahead rather than back. A person who comprehends the crown must earn, not take, a place in people's hearts. How Charles and Camilla react is now the question. Do they learn to cope with the new reality and accept it? Do they keep resisting and run the danger of becoming less and less relevant? It appears that Camilla's natural tendency is to fight, to reaffirm the hierarchy, and to remind everyone that she and Charles are still the king and queen. However, any effort to do that is thwarted by the reality that the audience has already moved on. William and Catherine are of importance to them. Charlotte and George captivate them. They are seeing how the future develops. Additionally, Charles and Camilla's representation of the present seems more like an intermission than an era. Charles seems to have some understanding of this based on his remark. Let it unfold, it has already begun. Whether he approves of the change or not, he is aware that it is taking place. Whether that awareness results in peace or merely resignation is the question. Realizing that what you've been waiting your entire life for is disappearing before you've had an opportunity to truly define it. It's difficult to sit with it, and that must be challenging, regardless of your opinion of Charles. It's not the same for Camilla. This position was not passed down to her via blood. She earned it by persevering through hardships that would have shattered most people, and by being by Charles's side when it felt like everyone was against her. And now, when she reaches the top, she finds herself on the periphery while her stepson and his spouse seize the future. It's not petty that she summoned a meeting with royal advisors and pushed for the restoration of the old system. Desperation is what that is. That person witnesses the things she battled for being taken away and is unable to stop it. However, this is what, from the outside, makes the entire situation so captivating. In reality, nobody is doing anything improperly. William is not planning a takeover. He's not openly disparaging his father. He is just carrying out his duties by turning there, interacting with others, teaching his kids the value of service, and giving impactful speeches. Charles's and Camilla's perception of this as a threat speaks more about their own stance than it does about William's behavior. The popularity of his son wouldn't seem like an issue if the monarch felt safe in his position. The queen consort wouldn't have to battle for power behind closed doors if she had true public devotion. All of this was made public by the Kensington Palace announcement because it took place at a garden party in the summer air, with William speaking from the heart, Catherine standing next to him, and Charlotte taking on a role that no one outside their inner circle knew was coming. It was not a formal event with the entire family present, nor was it accompanied by a coordinated statement from the palace. The message was sincere even though the spontaneity may have been a little manufactured, as these events often are. The future is like this. The individuals involved will need to learn how to cope with the fact that it is already here. Charlotte herself appears admirably prepared for the task at hand. Although many undoubtedly notice the physical similarities, the comparisons to Diana and Queen Elizabeth go beyond that. People want to support her because of the warmth and stability she exudes. Despite her youth, she is being prepped in a way that implies her parents view her as more than just a supporting character in George's tale. Rather, they consider her crucial to the kingdom's future. That's a big change from the way royal daughters have traditionally been seen, and it shows that William and Catherine recognize the necessity for the monarchy to have as many strong, respectable spokespeople as possible. The fact that neither Charlotte's grandfather, the king, nor her step-grandmother, the queen, have made a statement, offered condolences, or acknowledged her new role from Clarence House, is more evidence than anything else that this announcement was not planned, approved, or a part of a family agreement. The monarch and queen were either caught off guard or declined to take part in the Wellses' unilateral actions. In any case, the perception of a cohesive royal family suffered yet another setback, and everyone can now see the fracture lines that have been developing for months. The practical side of Charlotte's new responsibilities is what follows. She will begin going to engagements with Catherine, picking up the rhythms of royal service, and being presented to the public as someone who will eventually hold important responsibilities rather than as a charming child in a pretty frock. Every appearance will be covered by the media. Her development will be monitored by the public, and as time goes on, it will be more difficult to overlook the difference between the fading and growing generations. William and Catherine, along with their offspring, now own the energy, the focus, and the sense of direction the monarchy is taking. Charles and Camilla will still have their responsibilities, titles, and positions in the hierarchy. As William stated in his address, the crown is being reworn by developing tradition rather than by discarding it, and by its very nature, development leaves certain things behind. There is no expulsion of Charles and Camilla, they are simply being ignored. On a summer afternoon at Kensington Palace, the future materialized as a small girl, moving ahead while her father talked about service, pledges, and the continued significance of the crown. The public has already made their decision, the media have already changed, the staff has already restructured, and the transition is not happening, despite the old guard's best efforts to oppose, convene meetings, and re-establish the hierarchy. The folks who are still waiting for everything to return to normal in Clarence House appear to be the only ones who did not receive the memo.